Today's Chicago Bears news and rumors are presented by the Fetch Rewards app. Earn points on receipts from any store or restaurant and then redeem those points for gift cards with Fetch Rewards. Download the app today at chatsports.com/fetch. Link will be in the comments and in the description. Okay, let's bring back the Smokin' Jays on today's show. It's been a couple of weeks. Joe Brady, is he going to be the next Bears quarterbacks coach? I'm going to go 3 Smokin' Jays on this one. I think it's pretty likely. I think there's a pretty good chance, quite frankly, that is going to happen. A little miscue here. It's 3 Smokin' Jays on Joe Brady. But hell, it might be 4 very, very soon. The Bears blog reported this on Monday that Brady is the front runner for the job. He could have some interest at the college level that's been circulating for an offensive coordinator gig, but those close to him believe he wants to stay in the NFL. And if that's true, back to 3 Smokin' Jays, shout out producer Jack. If that's true, then the Bears are the favorite. And let's add this into it. This dropped just about 45 minutes before showtime for the live show. Albert Breer of Sports Illustrated reports that the Bears are interviewing ex-Panthers offensive coordinator Joe Brady today for a position on their staff per sources. I think it's pretty safe to assume that would be for the quarterback's job. This would be a great hire. I mean, if you could get Joe Brady as your quarterback's coach. Guys, 6 months ago, Joe Brady was thought as a hot head coach candidate for this upcoming cycle. Now, obviously, things kind of flamed out in Carolina. Him and Matt Rule didn't get along. That offense never really took off. But to go from a guy that many think is a future head coach still to get him as your quarterback's coach, that would be a great hire for a couple of reasons. One, he can work directly with Justin Fields. He did that with Joe Burrow at LSU, and it worked out tremendously. And 2, if your offensive coordinator, Luke Getsy, were to get a head coaching job in the next year or 2, Joe Brady could then just slide up and be your offensive coordinator. I think this would be tremendous. You look at Brady's last 5 years and how quickly he's moved up. He was an assistant on Sean Payton's staff. That's kind of where he made a name for himself. But then his claim to fame is the work he did at LSU in 2019. He wasn't the offensive coordinator in title, but most people credit him and obviously his development with Joe Burrow for the success for that offense that won a national championship. And then he got the Panthers OC gig, and yeah, things didn't work out super well, but the quarterbacks he had were Teddy Bridgewater, Cam Newton, and Sam Darnold. Not a lot to work with on that front. I think people in NFL circles all believe Justin Fields has much more potential. Do you want Joe Brady as the quarterback's coach? Type Y for yes, type N for no. Make this the pinned comment on today's show. So if you get hit with the YouTube ad break, scroll on down and reply with the simple Y or N. I actually think this could be a perfect scenario for both parties. Number one, not that Joe Brady's image is completely tarnished, but he could use taking a step back from being a play caller. Hey, work with Justin Fields and the other quarterbacks for a year or 2, and then, become an OC somewhere, maybe in Chicago if Getsy leaves, or maybe you do such a good job, you're a head coach candidate again here in a couple of years. And then obviously the benefit for the Bears is you get a really good football coach to be your quarterback's coach. I mean, that would just be tremendous value for Chicago. I think there's good momentum here. Albert Breer's reporting the meeting. The Bears blog, who's been all over this coaching search, says that he is the front runner. So I think it's going to happen, guys. Not 4 Smokin' Jays. It's not a done deal, but 3, it's pretty likely. I think there's a really good chance. Random question for you guys. Do you shop on Amazon? Do some online shopping on Amazon. I know I do all the time. It's convenient. They have a lot of good deals. You get it shipped in a couple of days. Type 1 for yes. Type 2 for no. Let me know what you guys do with this one. Do you shop at Amazon or not? Simple yes or no. Now, if you do, Fetch Rewards is a great app for you for a multitude of reasons, and I'll tell you why right now. Fetch Rewards allows you to scan your receipts and then earn points on those receipts and then get gift cards later on once you get enough points from places like Amazon. Download the app today, chatsports.com/fetch. We got a little video for you guys here as well. I've gotten some questions on this as well. What about super long receipts that don't fit on the camera? Well, you can do a 2-part photo, right? And you're going to see that on your screen right here. 3-part photo, 4-part. Doesn't matter how long the receipt is, as long as it gets all the information, you are good to go. So you're saying you scan the first part of that receipt, and then you scan the next part of that receipt. Once you get the 3 green check marks there, you know you are good to go, and then you can submit. Boom, you earn points. And again, once you get enough points, you are able to cash those points in for gift cards from Amazon, Target, Walmart, Starbucks, other stores as well. The other cool part about Amazon and how it ties in with Fetch is you can sync your Amazon account with Fetch, and those receipts also count to build up points as well. It'll scan your online purchases over the last 30 days, and you are good to go. Promo code BEARS to get 3,000 bonus points. Chatsports.com/Fetch is the place to get started. Guys, who doesn't like free stuff? That's what Fetch Rewards offers you. All you got to do is scan receipts. Okay, let's keep it moving here on today's Bears Rumors Roundup. Justin Fields, is he excited for the 2022 season? Yeah, he's fired up. Now, we all know Justin. He's a pretty stoic guy. He's calm. He doesn't show a ton of emotion with the media publicly. But I thought it was pretty significant that he spoke with reporters after Matt Eberflus and Ryan Poles' press conference. That tells me a couple things. One, he's the quarterback next year, if there's any doubt about that. And two, the Bears are fired up for him, and he's fired up to be here. He's excited to be coached by Matt Eberflus. He also mentioned, hey, no more of this he's a rookie stuff that other people, were saying this past year. He said that as well. He said that there's advantages to being coached by a defensive-minded head coach who has seen a ton of different offenses, and that can help Fields and the offensive side of the ball as well. I think there's a lot of good positive vibes going on. And at the end of the day, Justin Fields has a lot of traits to build on and a lot of, up and downs to learn from his rookie season. He obviously made a lot of mistakes, some ball security issues, but I think with the new offense in here, led by Luke Getsy and Matt Eberflus's input as well, and hopefully Joe Brady, that Justin Fields can be a real weapon and can really take off in year 2. I think there's a real chance that he has a breakout year, and then heading into year 3, we're like, man, this is the year he could become an elite quarterback. Here's what I know. This offseason is huge, massive, monumental for Justin Fields. Like, he's got to take this team and run with it. Like, hey, I'm the guy. That's how he has to approach this offseason. None of this crap where, oh, yeah, Andy Dalton's here, blah, blah, blah. No, you're the quarterback. Justin Fields is the quarterback. He's got to get good reps in. He's got to get good rapport with his teammates, and he's got to be coachable. And we everything we've read that he is all of those 3 things, but now it's about taking it to the next level and finding that consistency. More on Fields in a minute, but hey, Bears Now is red hot. We're closing in on 42,000 subscribers, 155 away. Help us get there. Hit that big red button when more news drops. When Joe Brady, if he gets hired, we'll drop a video on that, I can promise you. YouTube.com/Bears Now. This is the channel for you, so don't miss any of our coverage here at Chicago Bears Now. Fields had a couple of interesting quotes I wanted to mention as well. Now that I'm the starting quarterback, or starting the season as the starting quarterback, I'll be more comfortable in that leadership role. And I think that's big because last year he probably felt like, well, am I the starter? Am I not? They keep saying Andy Dalton's a starter, and then he gets forced into the starting role, and it's all really weird. Well, now he's the guy, and he knows that. And then this one, too, it definitely feels good to have a clean slate. This is an indictment on the Matt Nagy, Ryan Pace plan for Fields last year. They just screwed the pooch. I mean, there's no way around it. Drafting him was great, but that's the only thing they did well. From that point forward, last season should have been about Justin Fields and his development. What did they do? They gave him no reps in training camp. They didn't give him any work with the first-team offense. They kept saying Andy Dalton's a starter. Dalton's a starter. Dalton's a starter. Why? It made no sense, and that's why they lost their jobs. Part of Fields' rookie year was probably wasted because of that, but, I think he got to play enough where he can carry some of those learning experiences into this year, and now this new coaching staff should have a clear plan for him, and that plan is that he's going to be the starting quarterback. If you think Justin Fields will break out in 2022, type me in the comments. I think there's a damn good chance that he has a big sophomore campaign in the NFL. Get those me's flowing in right now. Sean Desai, is he gone? Yeah, adios, Sean. And I like Sean Desai, but we all saw this coming, right? Once you hired, A, defensive head coach, and B, one with a 4-3 background, there just wasn't going to be a scenario where Sean Desai stayed. Shy Sport updates, Daniel Greenberg Had this earlier today that he's no longer with the Bears. He's been with the Bears since 2013, started as defensive quality control assistant, and then got promoted all the way up to defensive coordinator eventually. And look, I like Sean Desai, and I think he'll land somewhere, but I think it's even further indictment on Matt Nagy because there's also a report out there saying that none of Nagy's coaches will be retained by Matt Eberflus. Now, that's not incredibly shocking, right? There a lot of time when new coaches come in, none of the old coaches remain, but the fact that basically none of them even have a chance, like really Desai and Chris Tabor, the special teams coach who landed in Carolina, were the only ones I would have even been interested in. That goes to show just how bad things got under Matt Nagy. Sean Desai, I applaud him. His first year as DC, he faced a lot of challenges. He did a nice job. He'll have opportunities. I think he could land in Las Vegas. Quite frankly, Champ Kelly could end up there as well in the front office. So I don't worry about Desai. Maybe he won't be a defensive coordinator next year, but I think at the very least he'll be a safeties or a defensive backs coach, and he'll be just fine. All right, real quick, more coaching stuff. I want to talk about Frank Reich. He met with Chicago Bears media reporters earlier today. Classy thing to do, by the way, after his defensive coordinator, Matt Eberflus, obviously got this head coaching job. And he praised him in a lot of ways. I'm not going to, recap the whole thing or anything, but I thought this really stood out because we all talked about the hits principles that Eberflus talked about during his presser, and we'll break those down in a second again. But Frank Reich says, look, let me tell you, he eats, sleeps, drinks that in every aspect. Those are his standards. And here's what the hits principles are. It's basically the culture that Eberflus believes in. H is hustle. I, integrity. T, take the ball away, get takeaways. 4, play smart. Stands for hits. It all kind of, he's a defensive coach. It all kind of, comes together. Sure, maybe it's one of those corny things, but you hear more and more about Eberflus. This guy is going to be a coach who demands very high standards. And I think that things got a little loose under Nagy. There was discipline issues. How many guys were throwing punches and got ejected over the past couple of years? I mean, like 3 or 4 guys. I mean, it got a little out of control, and this guy's not going to stand for it. He's going to have very, very high standards. Reich also added that he felt from day one when he hired him as his defensive coordinator that he would be a head coach one day. Only took 4 years after he was in Indianapolis, so I think, sure, on the surface at first it was like, this seems like a dull hire. But the more you hear, it's like, it's not surprising that this guy's a head coach. He's a natural leader. He connects with players. He gets the most out of his guys. And now he gets the opportunity to lead a full team and not just the defense. And I, for one, am fired up to see how that plays out. Follow me on Instagram. It's at HGramNFL, at HGramNFL. We just crossed 2,000 followers. You guys are the best. Let's keep it moving. You guys can slide my DMs if you have any questions. Talk some Bears football. Plus, we'll do a new Bears Instagram Live sometime in the near future, so stay tuned for that, at HGramNFL. Okay, I wanted to mention this one more time because I didn't mention it on yesterday's press conference takeaways, and I probably should have, but, man, if you're not fired up after what Ryan Poles said yesterday, we're going to take the North and never get it back. I mean, who's ready for week 1? Like, I'm excited to see how free agency and the draft and all this offseason stuff goes, but, man, like, I'm just fired up to see what these guys' direction ends up being. And we kind of have gotten a taste of what it could look like. But, man, like this, you feel like it's different this time. Doesn't mean it's going to be, but it certainly feels like a fresh and new era in Chicago. Speaking of which, could be a new era in the NFC North. Certainly that's what Ryan Poles' standard is going to be. Who's going to win the division? Type GB for the Packers, type CHI for the Bears, type MIN for the Vikings, and then type DET for the Lions.